So at this point, we have a fully functioning application. It looks, at least it looks fully functioning. If you preview your index.html file, you should get what I renamed as fake book, because we just copied the Facebook user interface for someone who wants to sign up for Facebook. It's not quite Facebook, but it's close enough, and I don't feel like putting in the rest of the CSS to make it look perfect. But if you did over the weekend, congratulations, that's awesome. If you didn't, no sweat. It's not stupidly important. What is important is that you have this right side sign up functionality, which allows you to enter in your information here. If you do, you should be able to type in your first name and your last name and your mobile number or email, 818-555-95555. That's my phone number. Please call and text me all you want. Let me just make sure it works. Okay, there we go. And your password, your new password to sign up. My password is super secret password. And it should come out in dots. Everybody check that right now to make sure yours does that. If it does not do that, let me know. The other thing you should check is when you click this sign up button, it should technically get rid of all of the stuff inside your form. It should submit all of that data to nowhere in your form and then clear the form, because this is the default functionality for any form in HTML. So if you click this button right now and you have all this information and you click sign up, it should submit it and you see it's now all gone and we're back to where we started. Everybody see that? Now the other thing we have going here is we have a button that says or authenticate with Google. And it should be like a really, really big button. That does not look very nice. We'll probably make that look nicer later on. This is not part of the Facebook login, but it does work, right? Oh, by the way, I ended up fixing that footer at the bottom. I just was missing a semicolon. So if you head into your style.css, at the bottom here, I forgot a semicolon after height. It looked like this. And so if you refresh this, it should look like that. And that's where we were at before, but I fixed it by just putting a semicolon here. You might have noticed that. You might have picked up on it. If you didn't, no worries. If you did, it ends up looking much nicer. So we're pretty much good to go here. Everything looks like we want it to. Let's go ahead and add some JavaScript finishing touches to make sure that this button works. So what we want to happen, I'm going to inspect element really quickly so you can see. Oh, I have an error. Great. Let's see what my error is. Cannot read property add event listener of null at script.js line 5. You guys get that same error? Yeah. I think the reason why, it'll tell you what line of your script file the error is on script.js line 5. When it says cannot read property add event listener of null, it means we're trying to attach an event listener, like a click event listener that listens for a click, to something that doesn't exist. And so I'm going to go and snoop, and I think I know what the problem is, and we're going to fix it right now. We're going to attach this event listener to this button so that when we click on it, something happens. Are you ready for that? So in here, in your script.js on line 5, it's looking for the Google button. And I stored the Google button in a document.querySelector hashtag Google Auth. So something with the ID of Google Auth. And if you actually look at my HTML, I don't think I have that. This button right here, does it have the ID of Google Auth? No, it does not. So we need to add that. We need to go into this button right here and we need to say ID equals, oops, that's not what I want, Google-auth. Now if you do that, you should no longer see that error when you refresh your page. So all I did was I added an ID to my button on line 69, and I gave it the ID of Google Auth. In doing that, when I save this, I have told my script.js, hey, go find on that HTML document, go find something with an ID of Google Auth and store it in this variable called Google button. Then I am adding an event listener on that Google button that is listening for a click. As soon as we click, we want to run this function right here, which says, hey, console.log ready to authenticate, and then run this function that authenticates with Google, which is right here. I probably want to put that provider outside that also, like this, but it doesn't really matter. Either way, once we do this, it's going to run the Authenticate with Google function, which should allow us to log in with Google. And so all I do here is if I save this and I go back to my app, like this, and I refresh everything, I no longer see the error, which is good. And when I click this Authenticate with Google button, what happens? What happens for you when you click it? Try it out right now. Tell me what happens. If nothing happens, you might not have written your code correctly. When I click it, here's what happens. That's pulls up Zscaler for you?
Yeah.
Oh, you probably have to log into Zscaler to make it work. But right now, it says ready to authenticate, and it allows me to log into connectdion.firebaseapp.com, which is the app I built with connection. If I log in with my email, jastor18@gmail.com, I'm going to click it. Log in. It's going to take a second. And then bam, it's going to return this right here. This is all of the user data I want. Once this happens, it means I am logged in. And I can prove that because if I go back to my Firebase app right here and I go to users, I should now have a user stored in my database. And there I am. This is your first example of how users can log into your app. You'll see this user was created on February 6, 2019. That's today. The last time they signed in was February 6, 2019. That's today. And it gives them a user ID that uniquely identifies that user in your database. So your computer knows that this person is different than all the other people. It also gives an identifier, which is my Gmail. Now, this identifier is unique to me. It means that this is the only person who is signing in with this account. And the provider is Google. Now, if you did all of that correctly, you should now be able to store users in your database. So anyone who comes to your page and logs in through Google should now be able to sign into your app, and we should be able to store information about them. This is literally what happens in every single app that's ever been created. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. It doesn't matter. They all do the same thing. If yours worked, great. If yours didn't work, it's okay. I'll come around and help you fix it right now. There's usually two errors that come up with this when people try and first set up a sign-in or authentication service. One of them is in your sign-in method, you did not include preview.c9users.io as an authorized domain. Now we're going to talk more about domains in a little bit because domains are an essential part of how the internet works. And since we're on the unit for the internet, we're going to focus on this, on domains. But just make sure that if you go to the sign-in method and scroll down, it does say authorized domains preview.c9users.io. If it does, you're good to go. If it doesn't, I'll help you set it up. The other error is if you did not enable Google login here, you might get an error as well. So there's a couple things that could have you messed up. If you have those errors, let me know and I'll help you fix them. If you don't, no worries, you're good to go. But at this point, we now are able to sign users into our application. And so from this point on, we're going to want to redirect them to a new part of our app. And we'll do that in the next video.